Hello.
To our Lake Erie Institute community. Ellaya and I have known each other. We were just talking about this. We've known each other since we're about 16 years old, and we're not going to say how many years ago that was.
I don't mind.
I can't even do the calculation. It's so long ago. So it's been a while. Ellaya and I encountered each other, met up again by total chance. We both ended up living in the same town in Israel, right, in Pardes Chana. And I think that I saw your name, and I'm pretty sure that's what made me go. You were doing a theater production, a show. And I saw your name, and I said, wait, I know her. Go to this show. And I was blown away by it. It was so beautiful and powerful and poetic and just moving in so many ways. And in the show, you tell a little bit about this story of how you met Rumi. So I'm going to let you tell that story.
So how did I meet Rumi? Well, I was very young. It was my first time in India. And I had been traveling through India. And I was like right at the very beginning of my spiritual search, you could say. I didn't even know what I was looking for, but there was just something that was sort of pushing me to find something. And I was the story actually takes place on the last day that I was in India, the day before my flight home to Israel. And I was sort of busy with all the shopping that you always do when coming back from India, whoever's been to India, or when you come back from abroad going home. And I was in this book market in Mumbai, in Bombay. And I was sort of wandering through the stalls. You know, the stalls were these rickety tables piled with towers of books, spiritual books, tantra, meditation, gods, goddesses, you know, and 1,000 ways to become enlightened. And so I was wandering through the stalls and sifting through the books, and then I suddenly just picked out this one, kind of very accidentally. I don't know if
the very one. Is that it?
That's the very, very one. If you could see it from close by, you'd see that it's all kind of worn but yeah, this is it. Called Crazy as We Are, Jalaluddin Rumi. And I had no idea at the time who Rumi was, or if I did, a very vague idea. And I picked up the book and I opened it, and I read this poem. Come again. Please come again, whoever you are. Even if you've promised 1,000 times and 1,000 times you've broken your vow. Come again, please come again. Ours is not a caravan of despair. Come again. And even now, when I read it, I remember that feeling. I remember just kind of like something inside me lighting up and tears springing to my eyes. And then I turned the book over and I saw 590 rupees. So I don't know who's been to India recently, or actually it's more like who's been to India 20, 25 years ago. So maybe you know that 590 rupees in those days for a little book, that was like a huge price. And yeah, you know, big, thick, important looking books cost, you know, 50 rupees, 80 rupees, 120 rupees, you know, the Tibetan Book of Dying and Living, 150 rupees. 590 rupees. So, and I'm Israeli, you know, and we Israelis, we like to bargain. So I turn to the bookseller and I say, hey, bookwala, you bookwala. And I have an American accent because my mother is American. I grew up speaking English, but in India, then I sound very, very Israeli. I say, hello, you bookwala, you, this book, very, very, very expensive. You make me good price, go down price, this big price, little book. And the book storyteller, he says, no, madam, not possible. It's very good poems, very good book, very good. Rumi, very good. You take, make you very happy. I was like, no, big price. You go down price, 300. I give you 300. Very good price. No, madam, not possible. And I put down the book. I'm not a sucker. We Israelis, we're strong. Nobody gets the better of us. Put down the book, and I went to the next stall. And I just remember that feeling. I remember the book calling me. I'm just saying, come. And I was kind of sifting through books, meditation, yoga, tantra, mantra, yantra, da da da. This god, this goddess, and just hearing that come. So I went back and bought 590 rupees out of my money belt and bought the book and have it to this day.
And but your journey with Rumi didn't end there, because it didn't just become a book that you put on your shelf.
No, it just started there actually, and it was love at first sight, but then it was a long relationship. It was a very long relationship. Yeah, and then I mean, at some point, I mean, this happened when I bought the book. I was like I said, I was very, very young. I had no idea what I was going to do with my life. I had studied music, but I didn't really know how I was going to make that into a profession or a livelihood. And anyhow, some years later, I became a storyteller. Suddenly, I kind of found myself on that path of being a storyteller. Stories and storytelling became a very big passion. And I met these storytellers who came to Israel actually for this festival, and two of them put on a Rumi performance. And it was the first time that I actually saw these poems, which I'd already kind of gone more and more deeper into. I already knew that I loved Rumi, and I had more Rumi books, and I was kind of really reading him regularly. But suddenly I saw Rumi perform, like one would tell a story. And it was amazing. It was sort of, just to see these poems suddenly become actually visible pictures, images, like creatures. I mean, that's the way I experience it today. But I remember that experience of just kind of feeling the presence of the poem so powerfully. And these were master storytellers, like really, really incredible storytellers. And that sort of planted the seed inside of me that, yeah, this can be done. These poems can be actually brought to life in this way, not just read. And
maybe we want to tell a little bit about who Rumi is. I mean, I'm guessing that those of you who gathered here at least know him a little bit, but there may be some who don't, and a little background on Rumi would be great.
Rumi, he was born in Balkh, Afghanistan, to a very scholarly Muslim family, but his father was also very deeply steeped in mystical teachings. And Rumi, it's told that Rumi from his very early childhood was already could clearly seen that he wasn't an ordinary child. He was very, very gifted and very, very sensitive. And there are stories about his childhood, him talking with the angels, and yeah. And anyhow, when he at some point he and his family, they left Balkh because of the Mongol invasions, and they settled down in Konya in Turkey. And his father, Rumi's father, by the way, his name was Jalaluddin. The name Rumi was given to him later. And Jalaluddin's father became a lecturer in the University of Konya. And when he passed away, then Rumi took his place. And it's said that at that time, Rumi, he was very, very loved and very, he was known to be brilliant. And he was also very spiritual, but it's told that something, and he had a school, he had many, many students from from the Konya population, all levels of the Konya population, and he was deeply loved. It was called Mevlana, Maulana, but it's told, like, this is what seems to arise from the accounts, the early accounts, that something was missing for him. he testifies to himself as being still uncooked.
Mm-hmm.
And then the famous story is that he was one day making his way back from the madrasah, his school, and he was riding his donkey, making his way through the Konya narrow alleyways, and he goes out into the marketplace, and he's riding through the marketplace. He's accompanied by some of his students, and we can kind of imagine the dignified figure of this young teacher riding through the crowds. And at those moments, in one of the coffee shops, sat this very kind of rough-looking, uncouth traveler named Shams of Tabriz, Shams from Tabriz. And this traveler, this character called Shams, he saw the young teacher riding towards him, and he suddenly just got up and grabbed hold of Jalaluddin's, the reins of Jalaluddin's donkey, and he barks out a question. This is the traditional story that's told. He barks out this question: tell me, who was greater? Tell me, who was the greater of the two? Muhammad the Prophet or Bayezid Bastami, who was another great figure? And Jalaluddin gives the approved answer: Muhammad the Prophet. And the stranger, he says, but why? Why do you say that it was Muhammad the Prophet? Bayezid Bastami said, worship me. I am God. I am one with God. Worship me, praise me. Whereas Muhammad said, God, we don't know you as we should. So why are you saying that Muhammad was the greater? And as the story goes, this question just struck Rumi very, 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 in some very, very deep place, like a bolt of lightning just kind of hit him, and he fainted and fell from his donkey. And when he opened his eyes and he saw the stranger kind of leaning over him and piercing him with his black gaze, fierce black gaze, then the answer kind of bubbled up from the depths of his being. And he said, Bayezid Bastami, yes, he was a great teacher, but he took one gulp of the divine and his thirst was satisfied. Whereas for Muhammad the Prophet, this always really touches me. Muhammad the Prophet, the divine was an unending, unfolding process of change and revelation, forever hinting at new mysteries that can never be fully understood. That's why he said, God, we can never know you or praise you as we should. And in those moments, Shams from Tabriz knew that he found the friend that his heart had been longing for years. Shams of Tabriz, the story goes that he had been wandering, he had been wandering through towns and villages and cities, seeking somebody who could, as he's quoted, somebody who can stand my presence. That's the quote, the self-quote. Somebody who can stand my presence. Because he was very eccentric and he had the habit of really upsetting people and breaking all the rules and getting people very angry at him. And in that moment, he knew that he found. And then it's told that Shams and Rumi, Rumi threw away his books, he closed the madrasah, and both of them, they just shut themselves into a room were lost in their divine union. But that meeting, that encounter really kind of just broke Rumi into new realms of understanding of love, of connection, of union with divine. And then the story goes, as those who know the story probably know, that at some point Shams disappeared. There are also many speculations about that. People think that Rumi's students were jealous, perhaps killed him. He disappeared, and Rumi was heartbroken. Some say that he actually went crazy with grief. But that grief, that deep, 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 terrible grief, was another stage of his evolution, of his spiritual evolution, and it opened him into another level of divine union, in which he is quoted as saying, "Why should I seek?" Because he sought Shams, sought him desperately, longing to find him. And at some point, it seems that he began understanding that, as he's quoted, "Why should I seek? He's the same as me. Why should I seek? His essence lives through me. Why should I seek? It's myself I've been seeking for." And that's Rumi. He brings us the depths of divine beauty and joy and union that arise from the depths of separation and pain and grief. I think that's why he touches us so deeply, touches people so deeply, because he knows the searing pain of separation. And yet from there he opened into something new that we resonate with, something very deep inside of us kind of resonates with that and longs for it. He said that poetry started spouting from him through his union with Shams. And then when Shams disappeared, then it sort of opened a whole new fountain of poetry, in which he spoke of he has many poems which kind of speak of the pain of separation, the profound pain of separation.
Do you have a poem? Can you identify one of the poems that is from the love story and one is from the grief-stricken Rumi? Are they?
Yeah, I can. The grief-stricken, I have to remember. Yeah, it goes, "The minute I heard my first love story, I started looking for you, not knowing how blind that was. Lovers don't just meet somewhere one day. They are inside each other all along." Yeah, let me remember. I have them in my head these days, mostly in Hebrew, so I have to kind of
make the switch.
Yeah. "Love has taken away my spiritual practices and filled me with song. I used to be sober, respectable, chaste, but who can stand in this strong wind and remember things like that? I saw you and became empty. And this emptiness is more beautiful than all of existence. It obliterates existence. But when it comes, existence flowers and creates more existence and more existence. The sky is blue. The world is a blind man squatting in the road. But whoever sees your emptiness in all things entwined sees beyond blue and beyond blind."
So you met these storytellers, you were telling us, and you yourself then created a show based on a kind of storytelling show. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. Yeah. It happened in one of these mysterious ways that I didn't even intend for it to be something very big, but I just kind of had this calling to celebrate Rumi's wedding night. For all those who don't know, the 17th of December is the night in which Rumi left his body, and is considered in Sufi circles the night in which he was reunited with his beloved. And so it's called the Great Wedding Night. And in Sufi circles, it's very celebrated throughout the world. And I just had this kind of desire to sort of celebrate this night. And I had this friend who lived in the same town that I live in, and was a very talented singer. And I said, let's do something together let's just do something kind of spontaneously for Rumi's wedding night. And spontaneously it wasn't, because we did kind of rehearse quite a bit, and somehow we just found ourselves putting together this performance which told Rumi's life story and weaved into story his poems from different stages of his life, and it was all accompanied by music. Very, very talented musician and singer.
Yes, he is.
And it was Belk, his name is. And we just put up this evening. It was very simple and small. About 30 people came, but it was very, very beautiful and very, very powerful. And somehow it just kind of continued from that one evening, then there was another one, and then another one, and then 50 people, and then 100 people, and just it grew. And then we just found ourselves kind of performing. Yeah, for 8 years we performed that show.
8 years, wow.
Yeah, it was called Come Wherever You Are.
You actually created, and this was for your show, you created cards.
I did.
Do you have that near you? Can you show our group here?
Sure. Yeah, these are the cards. I have them also with an English front. It says Religion of Love, Rumi cards.
And show everybody, because they have English and Hebrew, which I think is pretty
good. In the cards, they have both English and Hebrew.
So Clara is asking if we can buy the cards in the U.S. I'm sure.
But yeah, for sure. And not in the U.S., but they can be ordered.
Well, at this point, I think we've invoked Rumi a little bit. So should we pick a card and see what Rumi has to say to us, to this group here, right here?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Okay. Here. Okay. So, wait, left hand. So, what does Rumi have to say to this group right here? Ooh. Sometimes he's kind of, Rumi is sometimes very sharp, like very kind of like, hey, spend less time with nightingales and peacocks. One is just a voice, the other just a color.
Unless time. Okay.
Okay, this is a really beautiful one. If you want what visible reality has to offer, you are an employee. If you want the unseen world, you're not living your truth. Both wishes are foolish. But you will be forgiven for forgetting that what you really want is love's confusing joy. And in Hebrew, אם רציתם שמציעה המציאות הנראית לעין, אתם עבדים. אבל אם רציתם את המציאות הבלתי נראית, אתם לא חיים את האמת. שתי הבקשות מתבקשות, אך יסולח לכם על ששכחתם, שמה שרציתם באמת זה את שמחתה המבלבלת של האהבה. אהבה, that's love.
We are all, as a collective, going through this incredibly intense portal that this collective experience is taking us through. And we're all hanging on for the ride. I mean, it's like a white knuckle ride for all of us. And yet there are moments like this when we can talk about Sufi poetry and Rumi and Hafiz and just get together and see all your beautiful faces from all over, from every place that we're all at. And we really are from all over the world right now in different time zones and different locations and geography. And it's incredible. And thanks for having fun with us. I mean, this is fun. Let's have fun together. I hope we can have more fun together. And I hope you can get back to doing your performance, your show, Ellaya, because that kind of the lightness of it and the beauty of it and the and just the touching our hearts, but in a lighthearted way, something we desperately need right now, you know? It's like we're shifting from one dream to the next, and we are in this between dreams kind of space, and not an easy place to be right now. Those of you who know me know I talk often about the old story and the new story and how we're really in the space between stories. But I think there are a lot of metaphors you can use, birth canal and the pain of where, going through this portal. That's, I think, capturing some of that, because it is a new dream. We have to dream a new dream together at a collective level in order to create that more beautiful world, right? We can sort of see glimpses of it every now and then. And the poets like Rumi and Hafiz help us to dream that new dream. But it has to be one that we do collectively that needs to happen.